Charlotte, North Carolina, with a great staff of 60 people. In May of 2022, rather than retiring, Brad and his wife, Becky, started a new nonprofit, Eden Village of Tulsa. The purpose of this was to develop tiny homes and communities for the chronically ill here in Tulsa. He's working towards Tulsa being a city where, quote, no one sleeps outside. The name of it is Eden Village, as you know. The name, I thought, kind of reminded me of the Garden of Eden. We can ask him about that. As I said, he's a graduate of OSU and married, I forget, how many years married? Becky, tell me.
40 some odd.
We won't tell her.
43, yeah, 43.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't tell her. He's been on the Kelly Clarkson show with his message, and he's definitely an angel for the homeless. So we're honored to have him this morning, and we're triple honored.
I'll punch the button. Oh, good.
We're triple honored because we, of course, had a cancellation. So, Brad, thank you very much.
Oh, you
welcome.
bet. Okay, now it'll work. No, it should work. Okay, we're there. Well, thank you. It's an honor and pleasure for me to be here. As most of you know, this was my dad's church for the last 20 years of his life, Roy Johnson. He loved his church, and you were very kind to him. So and I love I've gotten to know your pastor, David. I love him. He's awesome. Your whole church is awesome. So thank you. Yeah, you thought I was going to be here 2 weeks ago, but somebody got their signals crossed, which I get it. So I'm glad I was in town and glad I hadn't gotten too far into our Sunday school lesson. Like I said, I didn't have my first cup of coffee and a donut there, so we're good to go. So this is what we're all about. This is what our vision is to make Tulsa be a city where no one sleeps outside. So one of the homes, you can see I'm somewhat responsible for that little yellow house out in your parking lot. Now, I swear I didn't order that color. Somebody you talk about their signals crossed, I think somewhere that's manufactured in Neosho, Missouri. So I think they got the wrong color chip or something, but, I kind of like it. Yeah, it really stands out. So it is what it is. So this is what we want to do. This is actually Springfield is where the concept started several years ago. This is their Eden Village too. So she explained a little bit about how I ended up in this nonprofit deal. This was not on my bucket list when I sold my business 6.5 years ago. That didn't turn out as how we had talked about and what I expected. So with the new ownership, so I left after a year. Been wandering around trying to figure out, okay, where am I supposed to be? What's my next passion? What's my next mission? So about 2.5 years ago, I started researching homelessness, volunteered at John 3:16 and The Merchant and some other good organizations that are serving the nonprofit or serving the homeless folks. Got to know quite a few homeless folks and had conversations with many, read a lot of books, just really learned a lot. And decided, Becky and I, to form this nonprofit just in May of the previous year. So we're only into this like 15, 16 months. And we've made some good progress. But the deal is, I was kind of homeless 13 years ago. I experienced a lot of what our homeless folks experience every day in my life 13 years ago. I mean, it was a matter of food, water, clothing, and shelter. That's really all I cared about. And I was a happy camper. Everything I owned was on my back in a backpack. I went days without a shower and lost a lot of weight because I couldn't get enough to eat. Slept in old ratty shelters, and slept in the woods, and missed my family, missed my wife. But the thing is, I had a reason for doing this because I was through hiking the Appalachian Trail in 2010, raising over $100,000 for local charities. In Tulsa. We had a blog. I took off from my business, and it was the adventure of a lifetime doing that. And we were able to raise a lot of money and learned a few things on the trail. The difference, though, is, and this is the website that we had where people could go on and donate. They followed my journey by a blog that I posted. So we had thousands of people in Tulsa that were really kind of following me and living out my journey online, and they donated money. So I had a reason for doing this. And the thing is, and I knew that I would go back to a loving family and a wife and hot showers every night, in a bed with a pillow and plenty of food. I had hope for my future. I knew that my journey would come to an end. But for the guy on the right, as probably between 3,000 to 4,000 folks in Tulsa right now, they have very little hope, really, for their future, especially the chronically homeless, which is our focus, folks that have been on the streets for at least a year, many of them 5, 10, 20, 12, 25 years. I mean, it's crazy. So, as I've become involved in this battle, Housing Solutions, some of you have heard about them, a good organization that was formed several years ago, a kind of a conglomeration of nonprofits, bureaucrats, city people, people that are engaged in the homeless world. And they came up with a plan. They got the data and said, okay, this is where we are, this is where we want to be. And they set a goal. I'm all for goals. Now, in 32 years in the business world, we had goals every year, every week, goals were an important part of any environment, any business. So, but their goal was that by 2025, these things would happen. We would have about a 40% decrease in the annual count of homelessness. Homelessness in the veterans and in the people, youth aging out of foster care would be functionally zero. 8% of our homeless right now on the streets are veterans, and that's just not right. My son's a vet. He's a Marine vet, and he lives he has a home. And he's doing well, but there's a fair share of them that really struggle for various reasons, to the extent that they become homeless at a much greater rate than the general population, and that's not right. So these are all good goals, but we're not that far from 2025. We're only a year and a half from crossing that. So my question is, how's that going for us? I mean, since they came up with these goals over 3 years ago, how's that going? Now, not to belittle the good work that's being done by many on the streets and many for years, I'm a businessman, bottom line kind of guy. The bottom line is the number is going in the wrong direction. So what do we do about that? So I've kind of trying to figure that out, and we're making some headway. So Mayor Bynum, as you may know, challenged us back in November that we need to do something about this. And we're glad that Mayor Bynum has driven a stake in the ground on this. So he challenged these areas, the faith, philanthropic, healthcare, and the business community, to help us achieve this. $500 million is what we need for homeless housing. $500 million right now. Now, he doesn't have that in his back pocket, I can assure you. So the government can do some things, as they should, but he needs some help. We need some help from the community and the church. I mean, I'm in 3 of the 4 of those. So the church, the business world, the philanthropic world, they need to get some skin in the game, and we need them. The homeless folks in the street need them. Now, I threw in the government. I don't know, he put in the healthcare world. I wrote the same thing 6 months prior to when he stated this. In our first brochure, I was in a hurry, so I don't have my first brochure, but it pretty much said word for word, except I threw in the government as needing to be involved, as they should. And by the way, Karen Keith I don't want to get political. Karen Keith just announced for mayor. Read that in the paper. I'm sure most of you guys still read the paper, so at least some of you do. But she just announced for mayor. Karen really loves our project. We know Karen. She's a big promoter, advocate of the whole homeless situation, and specifically, she loves Eden Village. So I'll just leave it at that. So, as Jamie from your church, I've met Jamie. Jamie has been inside one of our homes a couple of times, I think. He loves our concept, and I know he's a member of this church. So, I'm not going to talk about the political world anymore. So, but anyway, when We know the problem. We've got way too many on the streets. The numbers, the hard data show that. And you see that every day. I mean, just drive north on Harvard, as many of you do. That's one of the many areas in our town where, for whatever reason, our homeless friends just kind of congregate. You can't go hardly anywhere in Tulsa without seeing the scope of this issue. So we've got to do something. The cost. You know what the average homeless person up here, half a mile from your church, what he costs our community in hard figures? $35,000 to $45,000 is the estimate annually. In things like ER visits, which is huge, police and fire responses, providing shelters for them, providing all the services that we provide, providing food. So they're really a drain on our community financially in many other ways too. So think long term. What if we could flip that script? And instead of them being a $45,000 a year drain on our community financially, get them to the point where they can get healed from all their many issues that they deal with. They can actually get part-time, if not full-time jobs eventually, and then they contribute $45,000 to our local economy. Now that's going to help them first and foremost, but look at the benefit to our community if we could do that. That's long-term. That's down the road. Because one of the misconceptions of homelessness is people think, oh, they're bums. They need to get a job. Why can't they go get to work? Well, it's a little more complicated than that with all the issues that they face. One of which being, at Lawn America, if I had somebody come in and fill out an application form and I look at it and there's no address, would I have hired him or her? I don't know. I can't say that I would. I don't know. But that's tough to get a job when you don't even have an address to put, let alone dealing with all the mental issues and physical issues and substance abuse that are thrown into this homeless mix. It's tough. So we want them to get jobs, and some do, but that's a long-term solution. That's years on down the road after they have their safety and security and all their other issues dealt with. Then, hey, put them to work, absolutely, if they're able to work. So the solution, nobody is really going to solve the homeless issue, because the things that lead people into homelessness, such as job loss, the loss of family is number one. That's the number one driver of homelessness, is the sudden, catastrophic, in most cases, loss of family. And then you throw in substance abuse, mental health, physical health, economic factors. It's just a convoluted mess of a lot of bad things that are not going away, unfortunately. Now, we can solve individual people. In our case, there'll be 63 people by next summer, is what our hope and prayer is, that will be off the streets, living in a safe, dignified home, with heading on the right track. So we'll start with the first 63 and we'll solve it for them, but there's a whole lot more out there on the streets that need the same need the same environment. This was actually started in Springfield, Missouri by Dr. Brown and his wife Linda, and he's a practicing doctor in Springfield. She's a retired nurse, and a guy named Nate Schluter, which is there in the middle. I don't know if my pointer works, but I wouldn't do this. I know a few things, but I don't know enough to start a tiny home village for homeless. So they are kind of our mentor. They're our guide. They're helping us and 12 other cities doing the same thing with Eden Villages. So we've learned a lot from them. We're going to, as this concept grows across the nation, which it will, we're going to help each other and gain more of a national presence in addition to our local presence that we'll have. So they've been my guide, and they've started this about 4 or 5 years ago with their first tiny home community. They opened up with about 35 homes plus a community center, had good success. Springfield was skeptical at first, but after 4 or 5 years, they're all over it. In fact, the police chief in Springfield I forget his name. He used to be in Tulsa on the police force, and he moved there 3 or 4 years ago. And Danny Stockstill, our new CEO, called him last week, I think it was, and got a quote from him. I forget what the quote was, but basically he said they love it. They've been a great asset in Springfield. There's a school right next door to Eden Village 1. The people in the school they did not want Eden Village next to them. Now they love them. In fact, there's interaction between the kids and the formerly homeless people. Because remember, they're not homeless. Once they step foot in the village, they're just like you and me. They've got a home. In their case, they rent it for $350 a month, bills paid. And they're dealing with stuff, just like we deal with our stuff. Their stuff is a little more serious, though, in most cases, that they're dealing with. But tiny homes are cool. They're affordable. I don't have time to show you the data, but they're far cheaper than other models like a high-rise building and stuff like that. Ours are cheaper. They're more efficient, and they're way cooler. The bottom line, if you were on the streets, where would you rather live? Here's the key to room 215, last door at the end of a long, dark hallway. Good luck. Or would you like to live in a tiny home with a nice, cool front porch where you can get out and enjoy the sunshine and razz your neighbors and walk down the pathway to the community center? And the grass, I can assure you, our grass will be greener, nicer than anybody else out there. Because grass, I mean, that's what kept me in business. Landscaping, green, there's value in that. That's why probably a fair number of you all paid Lawn America pretty good money over the years to provide that value. It's therapeutic, getting outdoors and getting sunshine. That's kind of like free mental health in our mind. So we'll have we've got 17 acres, so we've got a lot of space for grass and landscaping. We'll even have a 4 or 5 acre farm down on the south end of it where we'll have our residents involved in digging in the dirt and growing stuff. They'll be able to earn money. We'll teach them the thrill, not only how to grow stuff through OSU Extension, who I know those guys. They're going to be all over this project. But then we'll take them to the farmer's market or online, set them up, and teach them the thrill of making a buck in a legal way. And some of them had that in years past. It's been a long time for some of our chronic homelessness friends that have really experienced that thrill of making a buck, which, I mean, that was fun for me for a long time. Wasn't the ultimate, but it was fun. So anyway, the rules, it's not for everybody. These are 400 square foot tiny homes. How many folks have been inside one of our homes? Yeah, and they're pretty nice. They're pretty cool. In fact, we had one at the Home and Garden Show, and had a lot of people come in, look around. Oh, this is nice. This feels bigger. Could I set my husband up in one of these in the backyard? So, some of our neighbors are here, Mike and Leslie, and I don't think that would fly in our neighborhood. If Becky put me up in a tiny home in our backyard, don't think that dog would not. So, but anyway, they are nice. 90% of our homeless folks are single anyway because they've lost their family. That's why they're homeless. So, unfortunately, we'll have to say no to 10% that do have families or are married. But, down the road, we've got some things cooking that we may be able to say yes to those folks. Right now, we're focusing on the 90% that are single. They have to have some sort of income. Another misconception of homelessness is they don't have any money. Well, most of them have either a mental or a physical disability, Social Security, VA benefits, that they give some type of a government payment at the first of every month, $1,000, if not more. But what happens now, they get their paycheck or from the government, which you and I are paying for, which is fine, but what do they do with it? They go out and splurge that first week. By the 15th, a lot of them are no money. So they have to scrape and scrounge and make that last 2 weeks work. So what an opportunity for volunteers. I'm sure you have some financial wizards in your church that could go in and teach our folks on a consistent basis how to budget, how to handle their money, because they don't know. They don't know how. They just need to be taught and shown how to do that. So they can, if they have about $1,000 a month, they can afford the $350 a month bills paid. That's a great rate, and they can do that. And if we can get them to get in the workforce eventually, with even a part-time job, they can live with dignity, and they can have, they can make it work. The big thing, also they have to be living in Tulsa. Another misconception. Oh, they say you'll just ship people. I see them shipping people from Denver and Dallas and from LA. They're sending all their homeless here to Tulsa. Not true. The data shows that 86% of the homeless in Tulsa are from Oklahoma. And I've seen it on the lines as I've gotten to know folks. Now, some do come here, like the gentleman I met about 3 months ago at the Merchant down in 6, a great nonprofit that does good work on the front lines. We serve once a month there. We cook the men at church, make breakfast and take it to the Merchant on second Wednesday of every month. And we serve 100 to 175 or so people living on the streets there. So I got to know one gentleman that he actually lived in New York City, and he moved to Tulsa to get a job at Spartan Aeronautics. So at one time he had a good job, he was in school, stuff happened, and he's been homeless for several years. So people come here for family situations sometimes. Stuff happens, and then they're living on the streets. So, but there's not a mass exodus of people coming here from other towns. The most important thing they got to pay rent, is they have to obey civil law. They have to raise their hand and say, I understand what I'm getting into. I understand there's boundaries, there's expectations, and I will obey the law. I'll begin to work and address my issues, whatever they may be. I just want one of those tiny homes. That's the most important thing, and that's challenging for some people. Some people will look at that and say, I don't want any part of that. And we get that. Eventually, though, as word gets out on the street, as it does amongst our homeless folks, it's like the internet. It's amazing how fast word gets out on the street from one area of town to the rest. So our hope is after we prove with the first village, then all of a sudden, all these folks on the streets that people say, they like being homeless. They like where they don't want to help. They don't want to improve themselves. I think the reason is they've kind of lost hope. The reason is they know there's no place for them to go to live right now. Zero, almost. The chronically homeless. There's no place for them to go and really have success and have that hope that they need for their future. So we're going to provide that for 63. And then once we do, then the word will get out on the streets. Just an example in Springfield, they have 2 Edenville. They built one, built another one. They are in the process of building the third one right now. Right now, they have about 60 or so folks in a house, just like ours, just like the one out there, with a community center, and with not perfect but good success. There are and they're building the third one right now. They have over 200 people on the waiting list in Springfield, folks that have raised their hands and said, "Hey, I want one of those tiny homes. I'll obey the law. I'll do the best I can. I want a tiny home." So once we get going in Tulsa, it'll be even bigger because we're way bigger than Springfield. We've got more homeless. So they got to obey the civil law, just like you and me. They got to be a law-abiding citizen. Now, will there be challenges? Absolutely. For example, drug and alcohol abuse is about 50% of our homeless have those issues, and that's not easy to. That's a complicated, hard issue. We know that. So then you throw that in. Not having the safety and security of a home, it just compounds the magnitude of issues such as substance abuse. We'll have a drug therapy dog on our staff, for example, that we pay dearly for him, $10,000. It's a specially trained dog that comes from Europe someplace. So as long as you're nice, you can pet him. He's a therapy dog, but if you bring in bad stuff that's illegal, you'll be found out. So he'll be on our staff. Our youngest son is actually sponsoring that dog, I'm proud to say. He donated $10,000 to pay for our therapy dog at our community. So that's taken care of. So there'll be some failures. Those that mess up and we find illegal drugs within their home, then we'll give them, it's no longer an option for them to enroll in something like Celebrate Recovery or AA or get help. They've got to. They've got to do that. And if they don't, then we'll wish them well and pray for them and send them on their way, because there'll be other people lined up wanting to take their home. So that peer pressure and accountability will begin to really play out over the years.
Well, did you do that for alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Now, alcohol, good question. Do we have a rule that says you can't have a glass of wine at dinner? I'm sure you all don't. I'm sure you don't have that issue here. I know Mike and Leslie don't. In fact, I had Mike over my front yard. You know, he'll tell you, I sit out there in the front yard in a white chair and sometimes have a glass of wine in the evening. Not lately, it's too blasted hot here, but once it cools down, I think that's good. We're not going to tell them they can't do that, because they're citizens just like you and me. Now, can they have it in public? No. They've got to be inside their home. They can't do it on the front porch. They can't bring any alcohol to the community center. They can't have firearms within our community center. So we've got certain boundaries that are wise with this demographic, with this population that we're serving. But we've got to show some dignity to them. And, if they want to have a six-pack, if I go in there on a house check and open the fridge and see a six-pack, they're not going to get busted. Now, some places they would. But in our place, as long as they are not getting drunk and causing a commotion, or as long as they keep it inside, we're cool with that, Now, I was raised Baptist. I was a Baptist for many, many years, and so, we didn't even drink until we moved in Tanglewood, and then we saw Mike and, no, just kidding. No. Actually, when our boys began, when they were in their 20s and they got into this craft beer craze, and then I started, just to hang out with them, drink a beer every night. And then we started enjoying wine a little bit more. So that's okay, as long as it's in moderation, just like anything else. So that's what we'll expect for our residents.
Are homeless couples welcome?
No, single only. Yeah, because you can't mix couples and singles in a community like this. Now, again, eventually, I can't go into detail. We have plans to get another property with larger 900-foot, three-bedroom homes that we can say yes to those people. But can't do everything right off the bat. We're focused on this for now.
Many homeless couples?
Only about 10%. 90% are single. 10% will have our couples, or they have kids and so forth. And so, but if you go to any of the, like John 3:16, Day Center, whatever, you'll see mainly single folks. A little more slanted men than women. So, yeah.
Who supervises and inspects these homeless people? Who inspects and supervises that they're abiding by the rules?
Are you saying, how do we get our clients? No. Oh.
Who's on site supervising or?
Oh, yeah. Good. Who's supervising? Well, we'll have a small staff. We just hired Danny Stockstill, who some of you may know him or know the name. He's our first paid employee as of like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm just a flunky. I'm just a volunteer flunky. But Danny's on payroll, and he will basically run the place. There's a story there about how Danny and I got reconnected after 25 years. And so we'll have lots of volunteers out there. We'll bring the services that they need, such as all the mental health care, physical health care, doctors, nurses. We'll bring the church into there. And so that will come within the community center especially. So there'll be lots of interaction between our residents and the public in the community. Real quickly, this is Eden Village 2 in Springfield. You'll notice on the gate there's a little metal deal. To get into there, you have to put your thumbprint there and prove that you belong there. Otherwise, you don't get in unless you're invited. We'll allow them to have a couple of guests a month. Sign in, sign out. We know who they are. They pay 10 extra bucks for that. So we'll keep everything. We'll have some boundaries to everything. This is the front porch from Eden Village 1. Nice front porches. It's all about community. You've seen the inside. This is one in Springfield. Stove. One of the many opportunities I'm sure you have some sweet little old ladies that love to cook. They could go teach this person that's living in this home, that yellow home, He or she, they don't know how to cook because they've had everything given to them for years, or they've bought it. So what an opportunity for somebody from the church especially to come in and develop a long-term relationship with that person. Once a month, come in and fix a meal. Show them how to do that and sit down at the table and eat with them. Because it's all about relationships. It's all about community, just like anything else, just like your church. It's all about the relationships that form within your church. They've got a bed with a pillow. The community centers where a lot of the action will take place. We've got the land, Northwest Tulsa. We bought this. We closed on it last November. It's off Charles Page Boulevard, about 3 miles west of downtown, between Charles Page and the river, basically. It's for what we need to do, great piece of property. It's zoned right, which is huge in this space. It's on a city bus route because 90% don't have cars, so they can hop on the bus if need be. Although we're bringing the services to them, so the need to get on a bus and go see your counselor or whatever is going to be few and far between because we'll provide all that within the community center. And it's affordable. It's very, very cheap because it's kind of in a sketchy part of town. But you can't plop one of these down anywhere. Like if I tried to, for example, the land at 91st and Delaware, right up from where we live, 91st and Harvard, that land is zoned where I could do a tiny home community. Now, you think that dog's going to hunt at 91st and Harvard? No, it's not. So you have to be cognizant of the NIMBY movement, not in my backyard. I mean, I get that, but we've had zero pushback from this area because what we're doing is nicer than anything else out there. So they're going to love us, and I've already gotten to know several of the neighbors. You've got a great view of Eden Village as you go south on the new Gilcrease Turnpike. Right before you cross the bridge, look to the west, and you'll see our property. It's got a bunch of, we're on high center with the permitting process. We're about to get there to actually start construction. So it was all pretty looking after we graded it 2 months ago, but it's full of weeds now. We've been trying to spray and mow and stuff, but you can see where we're going there. The new bike trail, in fact, go back to that. There's a great bike trail right there. I've driven it. You can ride your bike from here to there on a trail. So it's a cool place to ride your bikes, which we'll take advantage of. And just FYI, this is a view that only was available just as of a couple of months ago after the turnpike opened. Is you're right in the middle of the river going north, you look to the east at sunrise, and you got a great view of downtown Tulsa. So that we didn't have that until just a few months ago when the turnpike opened. This is what they look like. This is the plan. They're triplexes. We're built in little clusters of 9 with 3 triplexes in each little family. So the farm is down there on the south part. You drive in off of 61st West Avenue, big parking lot. Again, only 10% of our residents will have cars, but if they do, they'll park it there. They walk to their home then. It's not like they have a garage, they wheel in there and go to the garage. That doesn't happen with in this environment. And the community center is right there. There's yours right down the bottom left, your yellow house. And we've got 2 other churches, Abiding Harvest in Broken Arrow has one, and then Christ the Redeemer Lutheran, not too far from you, has one. There's one at Smith Farm and Garden. Now, as FYI, I've been having trouble finding somebody that will actually transport these to our land. Finally, in 2 weeks, we've got a guy, I hope, from Oklahoma City that will come down and move all these to our land. It's gated now. It'll be secured. We've got security trailer out there, so they should be good once we get those out there in a couple of weeks. And we've got 5 more that are in production. We've paid for 9 homes, actually 10 right now. And these 4 are bought and paid for. They're here. And then 5 more will be here probably in September and October. Once we get to that point, we'll put them on a foundation and then hook them up with facilities, and they're ready to roll. This is at Christ the Redeemer. This is our Helmick Community Center. A couple of weeks ago, we were blessed with $1 million matching grant from the Helmick Foundation. Great family, great foundation. We know those folks a little bit. In fact, David is on our board. David is he's a good friend of Luke, our son. They went to school together, played ball together. They're still running mates, and so he's on our board. and he was able to help us out with this. So we're grateful for this. So we hope that their lead into this, they're one of the foundations or the philanthropic group that the mayor talked about. They're leading the way. So we're appreciative of that, and so we hope and expect others to kind of follow their lead and get involved with this thing. Yeah, they'll match from now until the end of the year. Every dollar will be matched, and we're over half. We're about 500,000. We're halfway there right now. They actually went back to May 1st, and so we anticipate we'll be there by September, October. So now we'll keep raising money. Maybe we'll find another foundation to do the same thing, or maybe they'll up the ante. I don't know. I mean, every day is a new venture. Every day is different for me. It's crazy how this thing is evolving and growing. Literally, I mean, look at this. An hour ago, I was sitting in my Sunday school class drinking coffee, eating a donut. and here, I mean, literally, that's how it goes. That's how it's been going. So real quickly, because I know you guys need, church starts at 11, is that right? Okay, I'll get you there for you can get a good seat. The center, as you come in, our offices will be on the left, small, lean staff, big area to meet in and dine in, a kitchen. The 3 offices off to the right are for mental health care, doctors, nurses, counseling, all the things that they need sometimes on a daily basis. Rather than hopping on a bus and maybe getting there, maybe not, they just walk to the community center and we'll provide, for example, Celebrate Recovery, Good Samaritan Health Care. I've talked to them. They would love to set up shop in one of our offices and do what they do really well. The laundry is 24/7 down in the bottom right corner, so they can come in and do their laundry, hang out. There's a TV, there's a computer room, library. Then we've got showers there. For example, when the weather is really cold, as it has been in the winter, if we need an emergency shelter, we'll be able to be one of those because we'll have space for about 30 or 40 folks off the streets that they can come in and sleep there with safety and get out of the cold. We've got the showers, we've got the kitchen, we'll have the volunteers, but we'll also have our residents who, again, they're not homeless anymore. They'll come in, and some of them, if not many of them, get involved in helping us to love on those people and meet their needs and care for them. And these are people that used to be in those people's shoes that are helping those folks. So to end up, and if we have time for questions, great. If not, I'll be hanging around here. But I grew up in Tulsa, about 11th and Yale. That's where my dad raised us for the most part. And that was pretty much the center of Tulsa geographically. Oh. Good question. This is not a transitional deal. It can be. They can live there as long as they follow the rules and pay the rent. They can live there till they die. And in Springfield, they've had about 4 or 5 folks that have passed away while living there. And that's pretty normal because the average life expectancy for a homeless person is 20 years less than you and I, just because of the daily trauma that they face. So what they've done in Springfield, and we'll have the same thing, is a memorial garden. And in fact, Dr. Smith, one of our neighbors who's on our board, Dr. Mike Smith, I think they're going to pay for that. So we'll just bury them, their ashes right there, and we'll have a service, and they'll have a dignified death. Now, right now, does that happen in Tulsa? No. The 56 or so people that have passed away last year and the year before, for the most part, it's like a pauper's grave. I don't know where they end up. But they'll know in our place. Yes, sir. Yeah, we want to put new stuff in there. If anybody knows anybody at Mathis Brothers, I'd love to talk to you because I've tried to get into their deal. That's been a tough nut to crack. Now, we bought stuff for the first 4 homes, like the furniture from your home, I think came from Mathis Brothers. But they gave us a deal, not a great deal, and they sure didn't donate it. So we don't want to put used stuff in there. We want to put new, good stuff in there. Let me get through this, and then I can take some questions. Thanks. Anyway, 71st and 169 is pretty much the center of our city geographically now. So just within a half a mile or a mile of 71st and 169, just look at all the stuff we can do. You can go stay in a fancy hotel up there on the left, and you can go lots of places to eat, Fish Daddy's, Carrabba's, wherever, and go get a good meal, and they're packed just about every day, all day. You can go to Arthur Greeno's Chick-fil-A, and you don't even have to get out of your car, and you get a chicken sandwich and stay inside the air conditioning of your car. You can go to a movie. Becky and I went to a great movie last weekend at Cinemark, Hiding Place. It was an adaptation in a play it was really a cool movie. For some reason, they only played it for the weekend, but they will re-release it, so it's well worth seeing. Also, 71st to 169, you can go shopping for refrigerators at Lowe's or buy wood stuff and junk that I've spent a ton of money at Lowe's over the years. In the bottom left-hand corner, we can go get our teeth straightened and whitened and all pretty, which the homeless really need. If you look at most homeless people have awful teeth just because fentanyl and drugs and lack of care, they're just awful. So dentists will be in a real house as far as people that can help us. In the bottom right-hand corner, Mathis Brothers. Now, my wife is all over Mathis Brothers. She loves to go furniture shopping there, and you can go buy a nice couch and a bed to sleep in right there within a quarter mile of 169. And then you got this. Within a quarter mile of 71st and 169 in our city, we got this. And what do we do with that? I mean, how do we reconcile that? I was actually on the point in time count. Okay, 2 minutes. Back in January, where we go out and count noses of all the homeless people every January over like a 3-day period. They do the best they can in getting the numbers, but they don't count everybody. Obviously, there were people living here, but we didn't see anybody there because they'd scattered. So again, the official count was like 1,200, which was higher than the last year, but again, there's people tell me there's more like 3,000 to 4,000. So what do we do with a guy like Jack, who I got to know at the Merchant several months ago? Typical homeless guy, been homeless for years, lost his family. He scrapes and scrounges around. He's not as old as what he appears because of just what he deals with. So I tell you what we're trying to do. This is the Bible verse that really drives what we do and how we do things. This is who we are out of Psalms. Some wandered in the wilderness, lost and homeless. Hungry and thirsty, they nearly died. Lord, help, they cried out in their trouble, and He rescued them from their distress. He led them straight to a city where they could live. So my challenge is to your church and the whole community, let's be that city where our folks can truly live with dignity. It's not going to be easy, but we've started, and we just need the help of the entire community to make this happen. So here's the contact information. You can go to our website, get more information. Call me. I'll speak to anybody on a moment's notice, even anytime about Eden Village. And so that's what we do. I'm a teacher by trade, actually, and I'm a vision caster. So that's what I do.
Yes, question.
Absolutely, yeah. We love dogs. Dogs are very therapeutic. Now, cats, I don't know about cats, but no, we're good with cats too. We'll actually have goats at our farm. We'll have chickens, goats. We'll raise eggs. Animals are therapy. They're God's creation, so we'll have that.
Brad, thanks for coming. Is there going to be any good news from the bond issue that just passed for the homeless?
Yeah, it just passed. Now we are in contact with the mayor's office. They like this. They've been a little slow to come on, but they like it. And I've been told, yeah, we've got $70 million for low income or homeless housing. And it's not like they're going to come write me a check for $50 million tomorrow. That ain't going to happen. I'd take it if they did, but more than likely it's going to be several years before that money is even released. And yeah, we want to be on that list because frankly, we've made more progress in this space than anybody else out there in this environment. So sign me up, put me in, Coach.
You're definitely
we can
shovel
play that
ready.
game.
You're shovel ready, which is what they normally look
Absolutely,
for.
yeah. We're waiting. We're waiting for the city to give us our permit. So we're that close.
So with 63 residents at $350 a month, how close does that get
Yeah.
to being self-sustaining?
Good question. That's about half of it. We'll continually need to be in the fundraising mode, so their rent covers about half of our operating expense. Now, I'm a lean business person, so we're going to be good stewards of that, I can assure you. So, but we'll need to be in the fundraising mode. We think that once we get this first one going, people learn about it and they see that we're having success. We get the second one going. Our hope is that the fundraising will be way easier than what it is now, and I think it will be. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, groceries. We're in a food desert, so they say. But you know, we don't do it. But I know of a lot. I bet people in here get on this little computer and they type a few strokes and they can have food delivered to them. So we'll take advantage of that technology. There will be a grocery store in that community soon, we hope. In fact, our church has been involved for 8 years in trying to make that happen. So we'll take advantage of the food banks and we'll bring in some donated food, but we don't want to enable them, you know. They've got to have skin in the game. So we'll help them out a little bit. We'll have churches that come in, hopefully your church, and say, hey, next Sunday we'll have a Mexican fiesta. Now, no margaritas, I'm sorry. Have to hold off on the margaritas. So, and so you'll come in and fix a Mexican meal. Maybe David could put on his sombrero and do a little dance. I don't know. We'll just let the churches do what they do best, and that's to come and feed and love on our folks. Any other questions? I'll be around too. My service doesn't start till 11. I don't need to be there to start. Yeah. So I'm happy to stay around and answer questions.
All right, thanks again, Brad. Appreciate it. So, Star and I are going to be traveling the next 2 weeks, and Kay is graciously going to take care of class for the next 2 weeks. So be gentle to her. Thank you.